This video is sponsored by Buyee. Have you ever looked across the ocean and seen all the cool things that you could get if you lived in the land of the rising sun and thought to yourself, these things are so cool. I wish there was an online storefront that would let me buy/bid on things on these sites and then ship them to me out of Japan to my home? Well, I have good news for you. Buyee is a site that places orders and bids on Japanese sites for you, then ships them to you without any ridiculous fees. Wow. Buyee lets you buy and bid on items using sites like Amazon Japan, Rakuten, Japanese eBay, and many more. After purchasing an item, it is taken to one of Buyee's warehouses where it can then be shipped internationally, aka to you. Been eyeing up that Mai Shiranui figure? Maybe you're looking for CDs of your favorite game OSTs, or you're looking for an arcade stick that you won't be able to get in your country. Well, if you use my link in the description, you get a free 2,000 yen coupon, that's about $17 or £12, to spend on the site. Thank you Buyee for the sponsor, and let's start the video. Long ago, back before people fought over which game was the true fighting game, three groups of players discussed what was the best way to play these games. The first believed that the games could be broken down into a mathematical formula. They wanted to deconstruct everything that was in the game and use the base components as weapons against their opponents. The second wanted to push the limits of what was possible. They wanted to test out as many things as they could and see which would break first, the game or themselves. The final group enjoyed finding ways to mess with their opponents. The unexpected should be expected, and the optimal solution isn't something that should be considered. These discussions between the groups would turn into arguments as they were not able to agree on what method of learning was the best. Hatred grew inside the groups and they separated from each other. But it was said that if one person was able to take the teachings from all three groups, they would be able to harness a great power beyond any player's comprehension. I may not be that player, but I can hopefully point you in the right direction if you seek such a power. Are you ready? Good. Then let's meet your guide through this journey. Hey, did you know that Geo's boobs are bigger than Baikon's? Let's talk about Playstyle. Fighting games offer a wide range of characters that let us play the game in different ways. However, the best games in the genre still allow two people who play the exact same character to play them in their own unique way. If you show proficiency in one aspect of your game plan, use a move in a way that other people don't tend to, or show mastery of the different tools your character has available, people may be able to spot which player you are on the screen without any help. The way that we use the tools available to us is what is called our playstyle, and while it is definitely affected by the character that we play, you can still find variation in these styles in how they use these tools and what strategies they incorporate in their game plan. For example, you can't play a zoning game as Giovanna as she doesn't have the tools that allow her to directly pressure from full screen. However, you do have a unique dash that is able to cover a large distance, meaning that if you position yourself outside the range of your opponent's normals, you can effectively whiff punish any pressure attempts they make. The move can also be cancelled into from close slash, leading to a hit for a mix-up. But landing close slash means that you need to be directly in your opponent's face. It's the exact same tool, but use it for two completely different purposes. You can play passive and wait for your enemy to make a mistake, or you can have fun. This is what we refer to as a playstyle, and figuring out your opponent's playstyle is something that's very important to succeeding in a fighting game, as you can then formulate a plan to beat them. This becomes more important in a tournament set when you have a max of 3 or 5 games to figure out how your opponent plays, their strengths, their weaknesses, and how to exploit them. The better your opponent is, the harder these aspects are to figure out, so knowing some theory before you go into the match should help you out a bit. Enter Laff's theory. Laff was a pro Street Fighter player back in the Street Fighter 4 days. His theory states that there are 3 attributes that players can express while playing fighting games. These attributes are labeled as heart, body, and mind. Each of these attributes utilize different strategies in order to beat their opponent, and figuring out which attribute your enemy displays the most of is extremely important. So, let's get into the first one.
You think too much. What have you got to think about anyway?
The heart refers to somebody who plays off of instincts and feelings. Instead of analyzing a situation and planning the optimal strategy to overcome it, these players instead listen to the little voice inside their head that screams what they should do.
Do it, Gohan! Mash DP! There's no time!
A lot of players will tell you that you need to shut that voice out and actually use your brain, but there is a benefit to playing like this. Unpredictability. Fighting games rely on you being able to understand what your opponent is likely to do so you can formulate a plan around it. If your opponent is playing a zoner, they're most likely going to go to the other end of the screen, press some long-reaching buttons, throw some projectiles, and back up as much as they can to maintain their distance. From this, you can figure out how your character should play the matchup, what tools should be using, blah 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 blah, etc, etc, etc. You get the gist. But what if, and hear me out, the zoner player decides to just go in? Like, obviously, if they do this the entire match, they're probably going to get their ass handed to them because they'll be playing at a disadvantage. But you're not going to expect an Axel to run up to you and throw you, are you? This unpredictability is the core to the heart player's game plan. Your heart doesn't think, it just does. You don't tell your heart to beat, it just does it on its own several times a minute without cognitive command. It doesn't think, it doesn't ask, it just does. That's probably the best way to describe these players. They just do something. If you ask a heart player why they did something, they probably just look at you, staring deep into your soul, searching, wanting some sort of indication on your face that you're joking, looking for some sort of answer that they can just pull out of their ass in the event that nothing like that comes. They're probably just gonna say, I don't know, dude, I was just pressing buttons. And this is the genius of the heart-based player being unpredictable. They could DP on Wake Up like they have the last 3 times, but what if they want you to think that? What if after they spin the roulette wheel, they just decide to mash, and you're sat there blocking, waiting for the DP to come out? Well, good job, fucker, you just gave up your turn for free. Playing with your heart is about riding the line between idiot and genius and accidentally falling into the genius side. It may sound like I'm ripping into heart players and saying that they don't think, but that's because they've managed to sink their teeth into me. You could say that they
influenced my emotions.
Emotional influence is a technique in which you force your enemy to feel a certain type of way in order to get them to do something stupid. You force them to make foolish mistakes. You turn them into a fucking idiot. There's a lot of different ways to do this. Zoners naturally make players feel angrier because it is inherently frustrating to be constantly chasing someone who's always running away while they shoot you with BB guns, and grapplers are able to make a sense of fear with their large buttons, damaging command grabs, and answers to different situations. Depending on how someone feels, they will force them to play in a different way, which can be advantageous to you. If someone's angry, they're less likely to think about what they're doing and just go for the kill, which is obviously advantageous to you because you can just shoot them in their face. Characters like May and Guilty Gear excel at this. With large buttons like jumping heavy slash, she's able to jump around the screen safely while swinging the giant anchor around, and most of the cast isn't able to contest with her. This, rightfully, annoys them, and then they run into the anchor, so May hits them, which lets her start doing her real game plan, unleashing the entirety of SeaWorld upon you. If you can control how your enemies feel, you're able to manipulate the battle to your favor. But what if your enemy has the mental of the rocks that they keep throwing at you? Well, you have to force them to stop, so how do you do that? With classical conditioning, of course. Conditioning is just like how it is in real life. You force someone to do something by tricking them into doing it with rewards and punishment. We're not exactly going to be experimenting on dogs today, but this bitch will do. Let's say that you're playing as Potemkin, and every time you go for a command grab, your enemy jumps it. This is bad. How do you stop them? You could lean over the chair nicely and go, dude, come on, this is the one tournament I get to go to this year. I don't get the time off from work or enough money to travel, and I promised people I'd make it out of pools. Could you just let me land this plot buster once? Please, it's all I have! But I don't know how effective that will be, so what else have we got? Just fucking punish him for it. If your enemy is going to jump out of the pot buster before it comes, find the section where you would normally pot buster and wait for them to jump. Then when they do, hit them with an air grab, a heat knuckle, mega fist, or if you really want to send the message, you could hit them with the heavenly Potemkin Buster! Do this enough times and they'll be too scared to enter the air, and now suddenly you've got them quaking in their boots ripe for the busting. But to get into this situation, you need to know what your enemy's going to do. How do you know what your enemy's going to do though? Guess. Asterisk. The more you play these games, the more patterns you notice between players doing similar things in different situations. With this information on different characters and sometimes specific players, you can guess what they're going to do and react accordingly. When you predict what your opponent is going to do and counter it, it's called a read, and they're extremely hyped when you pull them off. These are the core strategies for the heart player. It's all about the way players feel and act instead of what's actually programmed in the game. Does it really matter if you're negative on block if you force your enemy to block after their move? Does it matter what Oki setup your enemy has if they think you're going to DP on wake up again? No, it doesn't, and it's genius. Until it goes wrong. It's not a foolproof strategy, and only focusing on these strategies means that you're going to lack some vital areas. For example, focusing only on the player versus player aspect can force you to miss vital parts about the game that could help you succeed and make your reads go even harder and piss your enemies off even more. Not to mention, if someone just decides to put you in a knowledge check, then you're a bit fucked. But still, playing with your heart is an extremely powerful strategy when you do it right. Truly, believing in yourself and putting your opponent in unfamiliar situations means that you can make your opponent angry, confused, frustrated, and even make them want to give up if you do it well enough. Though someone like me, a rock-throwing gorilla, has a hard time playing with their heart, you may find success down this path. And you may also find it in your heart to come wish me a happy birthday on my stream! Twitch.tv/GekkoSquirrel_live. Yeah, I don't know how to fit this properly in the script, but it's my birthday today, if everything goes to plan, and I should be streaming as this video goes live, if everything goes to plan. If you're late or just can't make it, or you really love me for some reason, I also have a Patreon now, which you can just join in the link in the description to watch me do ridiculous stuff like this for £1 a month. They left! It said you are free? Bro. Nah, I'm getting that fucking Millia, actually. Nah. Mech, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to one and done you. So, yeah, thank you guys. This past year and a half has been kind of insane, and if you told me a few years ago that I'd have a YouTube channel with nearly 20,000 subscribers, and it could become my full-time job soon, I'd probably say that you were lying and kick you in your shins, but it's actually happening, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you, every single one of you, for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in the stream. Peace, guys.